I am recording. Thank you. Yes, I forget that. So if y'all need to, do we need to restart? It's probably a good idea, right? So let's do that. All right. So to get to your power and sleep settings, the easiest way is to use the search to get to your actual settings to make these changes. You want to go to the additional power settings first. This will take you to the additional power settings configuration area. And our first task is to configure what happens with the power button if it's plugged in and if it's on battery. And there's a link, choose what the power buttons do. Click on that. So when I press the power button, we want to change that if it's on battery, just to hibernate. And if it's plugged in, we want to shut down. All right. So, and then we were also tasked to require a password on wake up. And once again, there's a change settings that are currently unavailable because now these are unavailable. The reason being by default, essentially it's probably best not. It saves time and energy, et cetera. But we want to change that. You just click on that link, it will open up your unavailable aspects. We do want to require a password, so we want to change that radio button. And I think that's all we need to do in here. So we want to save changes. Questions? Comments?
Hi, it's Ariel.
Hi, Ariel.
Hi, I just wanted to know what lesson are you guys on?
Okay, we're on week 7, and we're doing the first lab on that lesson plan, which is
935.
Thank you, Danielle.
No
935. Okay.
So everyone say hello to Ariel. She's joining our class.
Hello.
Hi. Hi. I just switched over from the fast-paced class. I was doing this 4 days a week, but I also take GED classes, so I needed to pace myself. So I wanted to come over to the 2 days a week.
All right. Yeah, we're a fun-loving group. We just we chill as we go through our lessons. So
That's nice.
Welcome. All right. So we're going to 935. Just basically power settings on a laptop. All right. So we're at essentially select the high performance power plan, and that's here, right? And we want to modify the settings in a high performance power plan. And as you see over here on the right, there's a change to plan settings. Click on that link. It will take you to the settings for that plan. And basically we want to turn off the display after 5 minutes. And it's just a drop down with selections. On battery, we're going to turn off the display after an hour. And if it's plugged in, right? We want to put the computer to sleep on battery after 30 minutes. And we want to put the computer to sleep if it's plugged in after 5 hours. All right. Now, also, it's asking us to perform some actions when we close the lid. So where do we go for that? What do you think?
To advanced power setting.
Advanced power settings. Okay. So we look through here. Wireless.
It was on the
Power
previous
button
screen.
and lead.
Okay, say that again.
I saw it on the previous screen of the power options.
Power buttons and lead.
We have to save changes.
Yeah, see power power button and lid,
Huh?
right here. You see that?
Mhm.
Expand that. And basically, you see lid close action. So when the lid is closed, you want to expand that, just click on the plus. So when the lid closed, when it's on battery, we want it to go to sleep, which it's set.
Mhm.
But if it's plugged in, we want it to do nothing. So that's, if you click on that item, it becomes a drop down. So we want it to do nothing. So we want to change that from sleep to do nothing. And then whenever you get a pop-up like this in Windows, you want to make sure you apply and OK. And then once you do that, you want to save your changes here. All right.
And then, are you guys under the Test Out Network Pro or Test Out PC Pro?
This is PC Pro.
Okay. And then you guys said chapter 9.
Chapter 9, mobile devices.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Now, did you receive that lesson plan that I sent you, or?
Yes, I do have that. I need to download it and print it.
All right.
Okay, and then are we under laptops or laptop components?
Chapter 9, we're on lab 935.
935. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right. So be sure to set the default settings first so they don't override the power plant specific settings. So that's why we did this first, and then we went into the power settings. All right, so let's go ahead and score our lab. Yay, we did a good job. Are you all still with me?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
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 Yep.
Yes.
All right,
Yeah.
great. Great, okay. So as for our lesson plan, we have another video to watch, 912. So let me go to my video studio. Uh-oh. All right, oh, there it is. And my laptop is having, all right, oh, stop.
Sure.
There we go. Okay. So we're going to watch a video on external laptop ports and functions. Another very, very useful video on some of the functionality of your laptop. Here we go.
Most of the ports on a notebook are the same as on a desktop. A USB, RJ45, audio jack, HDMI, DisplayPort connectors look the same on both a notebook and a desktop. However, because of the proprietary nature of notebooks, there are some ports and functions that are specific to notebook systems. In this lesson, we're going to look at the different ports and functions that can be found on a notebook system. Before we begin, it's important to note that because of the proprietary nature of notebooks, the placement of ports or the presence of a particular function is different from system to system. However, understanding the basics of notebook systems will prepare you for working with any type of notebook you'll encounter. Here's a typical notebook computer. Let's start with the trackpad, which is below the keyboard. The trackpad is the notebook's mouse. It uses technology similar to a touch screen to detect finger movements and move the cursor. It also has a left and right button for left and right click actions. Some notebooks will have a toggle switch near the trackpad to enable or disable it. For example, if you plugged in a USB mouse, you'd probably want to disable the trackpad. Sometimes people forget to enable the trackpad after disabling it and will call you saying their trackpad isn't working. The first place to check if this happens is the trackpad on-off switch. One thing you might notice about the keyboard is that the F keys at the top have little icons. Keys on a notebook that have these icons actually perform two functions. When pressed by itself, the key will simply send the key's input to the operating system. If F1 or F2 is pressed, that input would go to the OS. However, notice this key down here labeled FN. This is the notebook's function key. If we press a key while holding down the function key, the key will perform the secondary function, which is denoted by the icon. Some notebooks have function keys to control movie or audio playback. Some have function keys to eject CDs. Keyboards that have backlit keys will have function keys to control the brightness of the backlighting. Some notebooks have function keys to enable or disable specific integrated wireless devices, such as Bluetooth or GPS. Some have an airplane mode function key, which enables or disables all wireless functionality. The type of function keys really depends on the particular notebook. Above the keyboard is the power button. Now, on this particular notebook, there's something above the LCD screen that I want to point out. This round lens up here is an integrated camera. Another thing you might find near the camera is a small round hole. This is usually the notebook's integrated microphone. This particular notebook has an LCD screen that simply folds down. However, some notebooks have special touch screens that can rotate 180 degrees, allowing the notebook to close and the screen to still be visible. Let's move to the side of the notebook. Here is the notebook's DC power plug. This is where the notebook's power adapter plugs in to charge the battery and provide external power. The rest of these ports should be familiar to you. There's a VGA port, an HDMI port for connecting an external display, an RJ45 port for a network connection, and there's a mic in and headphone jack. Also on this side is one of the notebook's air vents here. This particular vent is where hot air is exhausted. Some of these vents are used to intake cool air, others exhaust hot air. Because of their compact nature, notebooks can get pretty hot, so it's extremely important to never cover up any of these air vents. It's also important to occasionally clean out these vents with compressed air, as they can get very dusty. On the front of the notebook is an SD card reader. This can be used to retrieve data from an SD card. Also on the front are some status LEDs. There's an HDD LED, caps lock, and there's an LED to show the status of the integrated wireless network card. This brings up an important point about notebooks with integrated wireless network cards. Some notebooks will have a toggle switch to manually enable and disable the integrated wireless card. The reason for this is to completely turn off the wireless card to conserve battery power, but it can sometimes cause you unneeded frustration when troubleshooting network issues. Just remember, if the notebook is having wireless issues, check the wireless switch. Remember, this will save you a lot of troubleshooting headache. On the other side of the notebooks are more USB ports and this square port with a chain link icon. This is the notebook's lock slot and is used to physically secure the notebook to a location. It accepts a special cable lock with one end that locks to the notebook using a key. The other end of the cable is locked to a physical structure, such as a desk. Also on this side is the notebook's optical drive. Because optical drives are physically limited in how thin they can be, some notebooks forego having an optical drive in order to achieve a thinner design. Let's flip the notebook over and look at the bottom. At the top here is the notebook's battery. Some notebooks have integrated batteries that can be interchanged. Other notebooks require the entire back plate to be removed to access the battery. This removable plate here is where the notebook's hard drive and memory are housed. If we wanted to upgrade the notebook's memory, increase the hard drive size, or even replace a mechanical drive with an SSD, we would do that here. So, those are some of the key features and ports that can be found on a notebook computer. As you can see, notebooks use a lot of the same connectors as a desktop computer. However, there are some differences with the function keys, hardware toggle switches, and ports like the cable lock slot. And remember, notebook function keys, port arrangement, and features are different from notebook to notebook. The information in this lesson is intended to give you an understanding of notebook basics, not a comprehensive look at every notebook type.
All right. So you're all using, or most of you are using laptops, right? Or notebooks, correct?
Laptops, yeah. Well, I have a laptop.
All right. So a lot of this will be applicable for you as we go through some of the functions. All right. So our next lab, 936. All right. Screen shared and test out. All right. And remember that you are responsible to complete all of the class labs. And I don't think we have any homework this week. Yeah. No homework until next week. So you all look out. Get those labs done and be on your way. Okay, another power plan configuration lab. All right, so we are an IT admin for a small corp. The visitor is preparing to give a presentation. She expects the machine to be plugged in during the presentation. However, while she prepares the presentation, she will likely run on battery power. So we need to help her create a power plan to accommodate both conditions that will not interfere with the presentation if the machine is not plugged in into a power source. So in this lab, we will complete the following. We will create a custom power plan called presentation based on the balance plan as follows. Turn off the display after an hour on battery. Never, if it's plugged in, put the computer to sleep after 2 hours on battery, and never, if it's plugged in, turn off the hard disk after 15 minutes, and never. And there's the reason why it is stating use 0. You'll see that in a second. And low battery action, which means that if the battery is running low on charge, if it's on battery, you want to hibernate, which saves power. If not, you want to do nothing. Right. All right, so all of you smart people, where do we go first?
Type in power.
Yeah. Power and sleep, not PowerShell. So we want to create a custom power plan. So
Additional power settings.
yep. Bring that up. Expand that.
On the left-hand side, create a power plan.
And create a power plan. All right. Okay. And
We want balanced.
yep.
And then we want to rename that bad boy.
Yep. So if you don't rename it, let's go back. Make sure you rename it. We're going to call it presentation. Don't have your caps lock on. All right. Balance according to our instructions. Next. Now, we want to turn off the display after 1 hour on battery. Right. And if it's plugged in, never. Okay. We want to put the computer to sleep after 2 hours. And if it's on battery, and never. If it's plugged in. Okay. So what else we need? Turn off the hard disk. Where do I see hard disk in here? Now what? What do you do next? Well, the only thing you can do here is create your power plan, right? And you see that we have our presentation power plan here. So we want to go into change our plan setting. It takes us back here. So now we have change our advanced power settings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we click on that, brings us to this nice little, navigation. And the first thing, we want to turn off the hard disk after 15 minutes. If it's on battery, there's a second selection down. This hard disk, expand that by clicking on the plus and expand the turn off hard disk. Now, if it's on battery, the instructions ask us to up that to 15 minutes. So we can type in there just up to 15. But if it's plugged in, it says never. Now this is where you want to use 0. So you notice if we type in 0 in here, it'll actually, and click out of it, it'll actually default to never. All right. All right, so that's the disk. So we got that set. So now we have low battery. So let's find out where the battery is. It's at the very bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So expand that, and you have to scroll down. And there's critical battery action, low battery, critical battery level, low battery notification, low battery action. That's what we want, right?
Mhm.
So we're going to expand that. It's on battery. We want to hibernate. So select it in the drop down. And if it's plugged in, we want to do nothing. So we can just keep that. All right. That all look good?
Yep.
So we want to apply and OK. And now we have the settings for our customized presentation power plan.
Mhm.
So let's score that lab. Hey, looks like we did okay. Did you all do okay?
Yep.
Good job.
Yes.
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 All right. All right. So let's go on to our next video journey. All right. And we're going to 951. Which is mobile device overview. Yes, I know you've been waiting for this. This video is actually pretty good, so because you all have smartphones, you all have, and here we go.
In today's world, mobile devices are becoming more of a necessity than a luxury. This is especially true with smartphones, which are the most widely used mobile device. In this lesson, we're going to spend some time looking at the different types of mobile devices you need to be familiar with. We'll also take a look at the common characteristics that all mobile devices share. Let's start by looking at the different types of mobile devices you are most likely going to encounter. Probably the most common mobile device is the smartphone. Smartphones combine the functionality of a cellular phone with the features of a desktop computer. When they were first developed, they really were kind of limited in their functionality. However, smartphones have since become some of the most powerful and versatile mobile devices. Smartphones are able to access the internet either through a Wi-Fi connection or by using a 3 or 4G cellular connection. They can also be used as a GPS navigation unit, a portable gaming device, and a mobile music player. Smartphones typically have a screen size between 2.5 inches and 5 inches. The next type of mobile device is a tablet. Tablets were some of the first types of handheld mobile devices. They typically have more computing power than smartphones, but are also a lot larger and more expensive. A typical tablet screen size is between 10 and 15 inches. Tablets are designed as a type of notebook replacement. While they aren't as powerful as a notebook system, they tend to be more portable, have a longer lasting battery, and have much of the same productivity tools available to them. Most tablets can even connect to a wireless keyboard to allow for easier typing. There's another mobile device that's sort of a hybrid between a smartphone and a tablet. This device is called a phablet. Phablets aren't as small as a smartphone, but aren't as powerful as a tablet. They're somewhere in between. Phablets usually have a screen size between 5.2 and 7 inches. In fact, any smartphone with a screen bigger than 5.2 inches is technically a phablet, not a smartphone. Most phablets are able to use special stylus pens to interact with the device. This allows for more accurate screen tapping for things like writing notes, drawing diagrams, or navigating apps. The next mobile devices we'll look at are actually a family of mobile devices that are meant to be worn on the body. As such, these are called wearable technology devices, or simply wearables. Wearables are a type of mobile device that is meant to be worn somewhere on the body. These devices range from being as simple as a step-tracking wristband to as complex as a virtual reality headset. Most wearable devices are designed to interface with another device. For example, a smartwatch by itself has a limited set of functionality. However, smartwatches are designed to connect to smartphones using Bluetooth. Doing this unlocks additional functionality, such as reading texts or answering phone calls through the smartwatch. There's one more mobile device we need to look at called an e-reader. E-readers are similar in size to tablets, but they lack the functionality of a tablet. Their primary purpose is for reading digital books, newspapers, magazines, and other periodicals. Most e-readers use e-ink to display digital content. E-ink is a special technology that creates a high contrast black and white display. Even though they can only display grayscale, e-ink screens are great for e-readers because they consume much less power than LCD screens, and they don't suffer from visibility problems when used in bright sunlight. Now, whether it's a tablet, smartphone, or an e-reader, all mobile devices share some common characteristics, the most common of which is its power source. Now, as their name implies, mobile devices need to be mobile. This means they need to have some sort of mobile power source. This source is typically a lithium-ion battery. Lithium-ion batteries are rated in milliamp hours. The larger the number, the greater the battery capacity. For example, the average smartphone battery is about 2,000 milliamp hours, whereas a notebook battery is about 6,000 milliamp hours. Another characteristic of a mobile device is its storage. In order to extend the battery life, mobile devices use some sort of non-volatile flash memory to store information. This type of memory consumes a lot less power than the magnetic drives, such as those found in desktop and notebook systems. Because no moving parts need to be powered, flash memory is a much more energy-efficient storage medium. In addition, a lot of mobile devices have expandable storage in the form of microSD cards. This allows mobile devices to increase their storage to upwards of 200 gigabytes. Mobile devices also need to be able to have mobile connectivity to the internet and other types of mobile devices. To do this, mobile devices use a variety of wireless connection medium. For example, the typical smartphone uses 802.11 wireless Bluetooth and cellular wireless technologies. Some mobile devices might only use 802.11 wireless or only Bluetooth, but a lot of mobile devices use multiple wireless medium. Mobile devices also have some sort of internal sensor that collects environmental data. A common example of this is a GPS chip. Mobile devices use GPS chips in order to calculate the device's location information. This is helpful for things like navigation applications and device location services. Another internal sensor that mobile devices use is called an accelerometer. An accelerometer is a sensor that detects movement on a single plane. In mobile devices, this is typically the horizontal plane. This is actually the device that detects when a mobile device is turned sideways and tells the device to change the screen's orientation. A third sensor used by mobile devices is called a gyroscope. A gyroscope also detects movement, but it does so a bit differently than an accelerometer. Instead of detecting movement on a single plane, a gyroscope detects horizontal and vertical movements. If you've ever played a game on a smartphone or tablet that requires you to tilt the device, then you've used a gyroscope. The most common characteristic of a mobile device is its touch screen. Because mobile devices are designed to be extremely mobile, they typically don't use peripheral devices in order to use the device. Instead, mobile devices use capacitive touchscreens to receive user inputs. The reason mobile devices use capacitive touchscreens as opposed to resistive touchscreens is because they are able to detect multiple contact points. For example, being able to zoom in on a photo using 2 fingers is only possible because of the capacitive touchscreen. The one drawback is the fact that capacitive touchscreens require a conductive object to touch the screen, so a gloved hand won't be able to manipulate the screen. Some mobile devices are also capable of using a special stylus to interact with the device. The stylus looks very similar to a pencil or pen, but has a special tip that allows you to draw, write, or interact with the device much more accurately than is possible with the finger. Another characteristic of mobile devices is their operating system. Unlike notebooks, which use a desktop operating system that contains mobile features, mobile operating systems are designed specifically for mobile devices and with a touchscreen interface in mind. The 3 most common mobile operating systems are Android, iOS, and Windows Phone. While there are actually several more than these 3, you really only need to be familiar with these ones here. Now, oftentimes, the decision between purchasing one mobile device over another is largely based on the operating system they use. And the primary reason for this is due to the fact that each operating system uses its own proprietary app ecosystem, which is another characteristic of mobile devices. Software programs that run on mobile devices are called apps, and mobile devices can only use apps that have been written specifically for a particular mobile operating system. This means an app written for an Android won't be able to run on iOS, and vice versa. Because of this, each mobile OS has its own app ecosystem, which is a fancy way of saying the number of apps that a particular mobile OS has available to it. For example, iOS uses the iOS App Store, Android uses the Google Play Store, and Windows Phone uses the Windows Phone Store. Just like most things, each app ecosystem has pros and cons, which are largely opinion-based. The main thing to know is that when you purchase a particular mobile device, you are buying into a specific app ecosystem. One final thing you should be aware of regarding mobile devices is the fact that most of the internal hardware components are non-serviceable. This means if, for example, the processor fails, you have to purchase an entirely new device. It's sometimes not even possible to replace a faulty battery in some mobile devices. This actually touches on the fact that mobile devices are not designed as a complete solution. They are instead designed to be a supplement to other computing devices. And while they do have a lot of functionality and do a lot of things really well, they do have their limitations. Okay, so that's it for this lesson. In this lesson, we looked at different types of mobile devices that you should be familiar with. We also looked at the common characteristics that all mobile devices share, such as power, storage, wireless connections, and touchscreens. And remember, mobile devices use mobile operating systems that each use their own proprietary app ecosystem.
All right. And before we go on to our next lab, just a quick poll on my part, my level of curiosity. So how many iPhone users do we have out there in class land?
Me.
Me.
I do.
So
I do. I do.
most everyone, that's 6. How about Droid? Any Droid?
I have a Note. I think it's a Galaxy Note. I have one of those. iPhones scare me with all the stuff. It seems like it's a lot.
Yeah, it may be, but yeah. They're a little bit, well, I've had all 3 types of phones. So are there any Windows phone users out, Windows OS phone users out there? Yeah, they're kind of dying out. So it looks like the iPhones are still, at least in the US. There's other OSs across the globe, but those 3 are primarily used in the US. So. And yes, iPhones aren't that scary, Ariel. You should try one out.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm getting next. I used to do technical support for Shurion, and we used to have to, troubleshoot iPhones, and especially the 7s. It just always seemed like it was a problem with them all the time. And they're difficult to troubleshoot.
Well, yes, they're very difficult to troubleshoot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's true, and they cost a lot, Carol.
Well, yeah, they are costly, but if you treat it right, it'll treat you right. I had, like I said, I've had all 3 types of phones. I actually received my first iPhone at a conference that I attended, and ever since then, that was like 15 years ago. So ever since then, I've been completely iPhone. Although I'm sticking with the iPhone 8.
Yeah.
So, my son, I just ordered an 11 for my son, so he wants.
And then they're about to, I seen on news, they're about to get ready to come out with the 12 already, so.
Yes.
They're good phones though, they last a long time. If you treat them good, they do last a long time.
Yep. That's the good thing about it. They're built very well. You can't knock that. All right. So let's go on to our next lab. Speaking of mobile devices and iPhones, our next lab will be a mobile device configuration lab. So let's get started on that. All right, and this is lab 9.6.7 under the PC Pro. And the premise is that we're IT admin in our little corp still. Receptionist Maggie Brown uses an iPad to manage employees' schedules and messages. On the device, her email settings are configured to communicate with IMAP Mail. It's a type of mail service protocol So you'll hear that often, IMAP and SMTP. Mail server over the unsecured port 143. And in this cybersecurity realms, yes, you generally don't want to have your mail running on port 143. So Maggie also needs to use the new password to connect to the wireless network named CorpNet. So in this lab, we want to use the accounts and password options to go to Maggie Brown's email account settings and change the advanced configuration to use SSL, and that's Secure SOC Layer. And you'll learn all about that in networking. To securely communicate with the IMAP server over server port 993, which is a secure port. So connect Maggie to the CorpNet access point through the Wi-Fi configuration using this app CorpNet WE or secure password.
Okay.
All right, here we go. So we're probably going to be faced with a tablet main screen or whatever you want to call it. All right. So generally with me, our settings app or our settings, that's usually where we want to go, right? Into our settings. All right. So now what?
Ew, got away from mine so low.
Now we're going to accounts and password.
And password.
Do you go to password and security?
Password and security. Nope. Wrong.
You have to scroll down to accounts and passwords. Yeah.
Who's that, Danielle?
Yes.
Yeah, accounts and password setting. And we want to change your email settings. Now she has iCloud, which is not email, but she has Gmail. So we want to go into there, and generally you touch it, but we're mouse clicking. So now what?
Account.
Go into the account, it'll bring up the account. And
Advanced.
now we're on SMTP, regular unsecured mail. We're going to advanced. And we want to use SSL, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just another switch, we turn it on. And we know we're going through password authentication, server port 993. All right. So is that all that we need to do there?
Yes.
We just go back and done. And now
Wi-Fi.
we need to go to Wi-Fi to connect to this new network. So we go to Wi-Fi and it's not connected, and it does find the CorpNet. So we click on that, and now we have to enter this long password at Corp. And it's case sensitive, so make sure you add the correct upper and lower case. Whoops. Yeah, I probably made a mistake because I wasn't paying attention. Secure, exclamation, ampersand. And then we want to join. And looks like we joined. Now, how do we check to see if we've joined the network on our tablet?
You can look at the top.
Wi-Fi sign.
And right there, our little indicator, it's solid or filled in, it's not gray. So I think we're good to go, right? All right, so let's score. Yay. And I have my pass. So we connected her successfully to a secure email service and a secure Wi-Fi. Good job. Good job. All right, we're moving right along. And my plan tonight is to finish the labs and the videos, and then I have a packet tracer challenge for the class, which is pretty much what we're going to spend the rest. We'll take a break we'll take a 20, 25-minute break, and then I have a packet tracer challenge for you. So just,
Hey, Dwight, I got a quick question. Did you guys already go through everything and test out Network Pro?
no, we do not.
Okay, because I was like, this section seems a little bit easier. In my last class, we had started with the Network Pro first.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We do Network Pro second.
Okay, that's good though. That's good.
Yeah, and it's quite challenging. I've already warned.
Yeah, Network Pro. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
looking at this like, oh, this seems a little bit more easier than the Network Pro. It's a lot more challenging.
Yeah, this is just the PC Pro, so
Okay.
this is the warm up.
Okay, good.
All right. Okay, so we have one more video, one more lab, and we'll take a break. And then I have a packet tracer challenge. And you can work together. Basically, I'll define the premise, I'll repeat it, and I'll just show you what the start of it, and then I'll allow you to work for a while, and then we'll walk our way through it. Q, did you have a question? I'm not sure how to get back into packet trace. Well, you should have created a Cisco Academy account, which is your email address, and then you create a password. If you have your email address, you can always click on a forgot password and change your password. So that's really the only way to get back in.
Okay.
If you can't get back in with your original settings, you can. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Do I go ahead?
Yeah, she can't get back into packet tracer, and you do need to have a Cisco Academy account. So what I would recommend, if you can't get back in, definitely go through the forgot password scenario, and it should send you an email that will prompt you to change your password.
All right. And Packet Tracer is the name of the website?
Well, you can Google packet tracer. It'll take you to the website.
Okay, and then I could just create an account on there? Because we didn't do this either.
Well, oh, you haven't done this yet?
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, it'll prompt you just to enroll in the Cisco Academy, but you don't have to actually take the class. You just create your credentials, and then if you scroll to the bottom, it'll give you the opportunity to download Packet Tracer.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So where are we? We just finished our mobile lab, video 971. All right. Let me get there. All right. So we're going to learn a little bit about mobile device security, which is very, very useful. So please apply this to your current smartphone.
Mobile devices are used for everything from making phone calls to managing bank accounts and everything in between. As such, they pose a unique security threat. A single smartphone sometimes contains more personal information than a desktop computer. And all that information is in a device that can be lost essentially anywhere. In this lesson, we're going to take a look at the various aspects of a mobile device security and the different ways mobile devices can be protected. Let's start by looking at the different authentication methods that mobile devices use. By default, most mobile devices are configured to use a swipe lock screen. This means that anyone can unlock the device with a simple swipe of the screen. There's no authentication at all. For obvious reasons, this isn't very secure. To secure access to a mobile device, such as a tablet or a smartphone, it's important that you configure the device's lock screen to use some sort of authentication. And there are actually several different types of lock screen authentication methods, each with varying degrees of security strength. Let's take a look at a few of them. Some mobile devices support biometric authentication on lock screens. The two most common ones are fingerprint and facial recognition. With fingerprint recognition, the index finger of the user is scanned and used to unlock the device. With facial recognition, the device's camera is used to scan the user's face and unlock the device. It may seem pretty cool that mobile devices have this technology, and it really is. However, the technology is somewhat lacking and can be fooled relatively easily. For example, a simple photo of the device's owner can be used to trick facial recognition. And by printing a picture of the owner's fingerprint using a simple laser printer, fingerprint recognition can be fooled. Because of this, biometric authentication probably shouldn't be used for mobile devices that contain highly sensitive information. Probably the most common lock screen authentication method is using a PIN. It's very similar to the authentication method used by debit cards. The user needs to enter the correct 4 numbers in order to unlock the mobile device. Using a PIN for authentication is actually relatively secure. There are 10,000 possible combinations using a 4-digit PIN. And a PIN can be memorized very easily, reducing the need to write it down somewhere. But a PIN does have some drawbacks. For example, a PIN can be shoulder searched somewhat easily. The person doesn't even need to see the exact numbers being pressed, simply the location of the press. Another method of screen authentication is specific to the mobile devices that use the Android OS and is called pattern unlock. With this authentication method, the user creates a line pattern on a 9-point grid, which looks something like this. To unlock the device, the user then has to provide the exact same pattern. Pattern unlock is actually harder to shoulder serve than PIN authentication. However, it's much easier to guess. The last method we'll look at is the passcode authentication, and it's potentially the most secure authentication method. Passcode authentication uses a user-defined password to unlock the device. The password can be a mix of letters, numbers, and symbols. Now, I say it has the potential to be the most secure because, let's face it, some people don't put a lot of thought into their passwords. So if the passcode is 1234 or the word password, the device won't be very secure. So we have all these lock screen authentication methods, all of which prevent someone from accessing the mobile device. But what if someone really wants to get the information contained on the device? What's to stop them from entering all 10,000 possible PIN combinations until the right one is found? Luckily, most mobile devices are configured by default to only allow a set number of failed login attempts, which is usually 10. If more than 10 failed logins are attempted, the mobile device will automatically wipe the entire contents of the device and reset it to the factory defaults. It's important to make sure that this feature is enabled on all mobile devices. This is one of the best lines of defense you can provide to a mobile device. Even if the passcode or PIN aren't very secure, it will be pretty hard to guess the right one with only 10 attempts at your disposal. Another line of defense that can be implemented and is used by default on most new devices is encryption. Encryption prevents someone from accessing the stored information in any capacity. This means even if someone gets a hold of a device and were somehow able to copy the content of the device, they wouldn't be able to view any of the information. It would be encrypted. There are 2 types of encryption methods used by mobile devices. The first is partial device encryption. With this method, only the sections of the device's storage that contain files are encrypted. This type of encryption is fast, but it doesn't encrypt deleted files, which can be recovered using software. The second method is full device encryption. This method encrypts every single sector of the device's storage, regardless of whether it is data or not. This protects the entirety of the device, including deleted files. If a mobile device doesn't encrypt contents by default, it's important to make sure that full device encryption is enabled and configured. There are 2 more security features used by mobile devices that you should be aware of, and they are both used in situations where the device has been lost. The first is called Remote Wipe. Remote Wipe is used to remotely format a mobile device. It's a feature that's built into a lot of mobile devices, especially smartphones, but it's also possible to use third-party software, such as Windows and Tune, to achieve this functionality. Remote Wipe requires some sort of connection to the device. This means in order to send Remote Wipe command, the device needs to be powered on and have cellular or Wi-Fi connection. The second feature is a device location service. A lot of smartphones and even some tablets have a device location feature to locate a lost or stolen device. This feature is usually a proprietary service specific to the device manufacturer. However, there are also third-party apps that offer location services. If the service has been set up on a device, the owner can use a website or software application to identify the approximate location of the device on a map. The service can even do some pretty cool things like tell the device to take a picture with both the front and back cameras, then send the pictures to you. This can further help you identify the device's exact location. The Find My Device feature does have some limitations. Because this feature uses GPS, the device needs to have a GPS signal. If the signal can't be found, the device can't be located. The device also needs to be powered on. This means that if the battery dies or if the person who stole it turns the device off, then it cannot be located. And if the SIM card is taken out or the device is wiped, either from remote wipe or from too many failed login attempts, then the device location services won't work. So those are some ways that you can secure a mobile device. To review, in this lesson, we looked at the different ways you can secure the information on a mobile device. We looked at the different lock screen authentication methods, the failed login attempt features, and the 2 types of device encryption. And we finished by looking at the remote wipe and device locator services.
All right. One more lab and we'll take a little break. And this lab is we're going to configure or change the configuration of our access control. Attempt to secure or make our mobile device a little more secure. All right. So in this lab, we're dealing with our receptionist again. So good old Maggie Brown with her iPad, and she does a lot with it. Yeah. So we need to help her make the iPad more secure. So it's only on a very simple passcode, 4-digit. Yes, there's 10,000 possible combinations, but we want it even more secure than that. So in this lab, we're going to set a secure passcode for the iPad, require a passcode after 5 minutes, and the new passcode is going to be keep out of my pad. And configure the iPad to erase data after 10 failed passcode attempts. All right. All right, so yeah, generally want to go into settings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now what?
Control center? No, Touch ID and
Touch
passcode.
ID and passcode, yep. All right, so we know that she has a very simple 1542, right? That gets us into the configuration. And so now what do we want to do?
Require passcode after 5 minutes.
Require passcode after 5 minutes, all right?
Mhm.
That's great. Now what?
Since we're gonna change
Password.
turn off the simple passcode.
Yeah, turn off the simple passcode.
Turn off passcode.
No, the simple passcode
The simple passcode, what do you call that?
right there. Yeah.
We want to turn
Yeah.
that off, okay?
Turn it off.
But we still need the passcode to turn it off, all right? And now we want to enter in our new passcode, right? We want to enter it in here, which is keep out of my, oops, let me start over. Keep out of my pad. Next. And of course, you always have to validate, verify, see if you type things correctly. Keep out of my pad. Done. All right. So we have the simple passcode off. We have the new. So now we're going to configure the iPad to erase data after 10 failed passcode attempts.
Erase data.
Data, turn that on. And we want to enable it. And it tells you right underneath, which is the default, erase all data on the iPad after 10 failed attempts. All right. Data protection is enabled. Looks good to me, right?
Yep.
All right. Let's score that lab. We all did very good. Okay. Good job. All right. So it is now 6:48 on my clock, or actually 6:49. Let's take a break until 7:15, and then we will have our packet tracer adventure. All right? Unless there's lingering questions. No, we're good?
Yep.
All right, see you at 7:15. Pause the recording.